What is happening, fam? It is your boy, the Sultan's TV, the Ayatollah Vindica, aka the Bobby Fischer BHO, aka Ned Sparks, aka Willie the Cool Penguin, aka the Hickson Hash, aka the Holy Hash, and aka fucking President of the United Bakes of America, Donald Blunt. And today, we already know, time for another brand spanking new episode of Let's Talk About It. So I'm just recording this on Sunday night at the time of the inner circle. If anyone jumps in, cool. If not, that's great too. I know I posted the link a little late. That's my bad. So this will come out as episode 99. I believe I'm at episode 95. That's available currently at the time of this recording. And this will be up on my Patreon tomorrow. So if you're seeing this and you're wondering why you get the lucky pick, because starting at 100, I'm going to be dropping episodes on Patreon first, and then a few weeks later they'll come out on Spotify and whatever else. Patreon obviously will be ad free, but this is something that I was going to talk about for the inner circle tonight. So I figured I would just give it to you now. And since obviously it's something that I would want to talk about on Let's Talk About It, as it's something that's super important and was a very eye-opening experience in a lot of ways, was this mission 2477 I just got back from. So Wednesday, I drove down to Seneca, South Carolina, and was going on a mission. A few weeks ago, I got a call from my good friend, the Tin Man, about coming with him to go on a mission where they were basically doing essentially a super rite of passage. It's supposed to be 40 hours, 77 miles on feet. And I was down. I needed to do something hard. Haven't done anything really hard this year. So it was super important to me to be able to get involved with something. And plus, it was a good mission. You know, the guys putting it on were raising money to help a cancer patient, like one individual cancer patient, get a potentially life-saving treatment. And I resonated with it completely because they're talking about doing alternative treatments, maybe standard treatments, but at a lower dosage. So if what would be a normal dosage of 100%, you know, they might only administer a 20% dose because chemo changes you. When you're getting chemo done, it literally changes you. It eradicates your immune system. I mean, your body is really trying to figure some new stuff out. And that's okay. It is what it is. I don't know the effectiveness. I do know there are a lot of people with some alternative cancer treatments, and they say it's this, and we're told it's another thing. But we're at a point where everyone gets cancer. So I thought it was a cool mission. I wanted to challenge myself, especially since at the ROP last year, I mean, I know I was an example and set a standard for myself, and I was a leader to others in ways outside of what I had originally anticipated, the ways I had anticipated being a leader. So mosey on down Wednesday night, catch some Z's at a rest stop, get in there, get on down, and no one's there. So I hang out at the Airbnb. There's like a little dock on a creek or a river right there behind the house. So, you know, the kid blew it down, chilled, waited for my buddy, the Tin Man. Many of you have probably heard me mention the Tin Man prior. If you haven't, go listen to my episode about the ROP. I mean, honestly, there's a bunch of episodes you can listen to me talk about him. And I was waiting for them to get there, show up, him and Ben. So Ben, a good, strong Christian man, flew out all the way from Washington. Tin Man drove from Georgia, a couple hours away, hour and a half away, maybe. Ben has run ultra marathons, Ironmans, It's a cool. He was a cool dude, big, Nordic looking motherfucker. Seems stoic. Could walk probably 1,000,000 miles. Could probably walk literally back to Washington State and be cool. They showed up. Some of the other people showed up. There was 10 of us, plus we had a nice little crew. We had a chef. So this was some of the way, there was definitely, this was not the ROP, but the majority of the participants had been on the ROP mission, rite of passage. If you're new here and haven't heard me talk about it, you can go to episode, I don't know, I think 64 and 65 are the pre and post ROP episodes. Episode 75, I got to do an episode with Chad Wright. Highly, highly, highly recommend it. We discuss it in great depth as he is the one who puts the mission on him and his team, the 307 Project, which has been very influential to my life the last couple of years, but most specifically last year when I went on this mission. If you didn't know, I had a torn MCL, and this was a 24-hour walk through the woods. The only standard was eat, hydrate, and keep moving. If you sat down, that was quitting. And we had gone out. I thought, oh well, I'll just hobble through the mountains. How hard can this be? Man, was I wrong. It was the hardest physical experience of my life. I wanted to quit. I really had no option but to stay in because quitting would have meant that I quit and still would have had to walk 2 more hours or so to get to the next checkpoint to be able to quit and be taken away in the bus. So by the time we got to the stop, I felt good and was ready to rock through the night. And super impactful, really helped clarify some things, re-establish my sense of self-worth in a lot of ways, especially because I just come out of a fairly abusive relationship. And I hate to use that word, but there was definitely elements that are textbook for abuse. And that's another topic for another day. And I don't care to defame anybody or put anybody down because at a certain point, it's no longer a victim type situation. You're a willing participant, and as I was for many years, and she was for many years. So it is what it is, as the kids say. But so everyone got there, a bunch of chill folks from kind of all walks of life. The dude Ben, another dude from his town had come. This guy Gary, who was another 6'6" guy. He was younger. He was in his 20s. Mechanic, was really working on himself, working on his relationship with the Lord, and had also done Ironmans. And I don't remember if he said that's how they met each other outside of just being from the same town, but it was cool. He had never been on any sort of hike, backpacking adventure like this. The dude putting it on, Brooks, good dude. Seemed like he had a really good heart. Bean and his son, Bean in his 50s, about 55. His son, 32 or 33, I can't remember, Heath. And they had a really cool dynamic. I don't really know. I had never trained with either of them. Beans, from what I understand, I think he runs a race. Like he puts on a race, 100-miler, has ran 100-milers. So, but he was coming in recovering from being sick. Was definitely did not seem to be in great shape. His son had never done anything like this. Also, a few weeks ago, found out his wife was pregnant. Congrats to them if they're listening. He is. Gary, there was Eric, Oklahoma State Trooper. My first impression of him was based on his demeanor, his stature, everything. I was like, this guy is a state trooper. And he actually was like pretty funny, kind of just had kind of a monotone, not super enthusiastic type voice. And one of the things that Ben wanted for while we were hiking was bacon, and he had specifically requested it to Brooks. And I came over and I was like, "Oh, I knew I smelled bacon." Not even thinking about how Eric is a state trooper, and he's like, "What's that supposed to mean?" With this dense look on his face. And I was like, "Oh, because he likes bacon. He wanted bacon." He was like, "Oh, I thought it was because it was a cop joke." And it was like so dry, it seemed like something out of a British comedy. And it was honestly really fucking hilarious. It just in that moment had gone over my head. And honestly, that dude turned out to be a really good guy. I'll dive more into that as I go through my experience at this 2477 and how it went. After giving you a breakdown on the team. The who else? Ben, Bean, Brooks, Heath, Eric, Gary, Greg. Greg, short, buff, purple belt at jiu-jitsu out of 10th Planet Austin, which Austin, for anybody who doesn't know, is like almost a little jiu-jitsu mecca as of Joe Rogan being there. And I mean there's just a lot of some of the biggest names in grappling are down there. So it's not uncommon for some of the bigger schools like a 10th Planet to open one up down there. That's where he trains. We had many a great jiu-jitsu conversations. There was Darren, who is an entrepreneur. He is a man of small stature, great, grand in spirit. And I'll tell you what, man, one of my favorite things was ripping on Darren. That dude truly is a good guy, and he let me rip on him for many hours at many times throughout the day. And he took it all in stride. And that is exactly how you have to be if you're going to be friends with me. Like me and him are now good friends. He let me talk all the shit I wanted. I mean, I thought of some of the jokes for what felt like quite a long time. Of course, me. I didn't mention Brooks, the guy facilitating and organizing this event. He makes his own guitars. They are very high end, very expensive, very cool. And there's the Tin Man, who, if you didn't know, he was my buddy, one of my partners at the ROP mission. That was his first ROP and first training mission with the 307 project. And him and I got very close because we both were locked up and fucked up and in lots of pain and had to set the pace in the front because we were broken down. Since, if you know the Tin Man at all, you would know that he has, in many ways, really elevated himself as a leader and as a human and as a strong individual in general. And I really got to see that in action today as he's done a second ROP since the first one. He's done the Proving Ground, the basics course. He gets on Resurrected. He's very impacted by the guys at the 307 Project, and it has helped him be a better individual. And I really got to see that this weekend, and that was great. It was really exciting to see, and really great to be able to train with him and all the other people, meet new people and train with them. And my goals going in, right? It's important to have a goal, especially going into a big mission like this, something that's going to challenge you, something that you can hold on to in times where it's tough and say, no, no, this is the goal that I set. This is what I'm here to do. And I'm going to leave it all out on the fucking field and make sure that I do everything I can to get a big win here today. And so I'll probably bounce around some of my experiences with the people, my thought process, what was going on. And you know how I do. We were on the Okanachi Trail in South Carolina. Okochi, Akanachi, I don't know. I don't remember the exact name of it, but It was good. It was not an insane trail. Like I wouldn't say it was crazy by any means. Good trail, lots of routes, not super rocky, although there were some moments. There's definitely some parts that were damaged due to the hurricane, but whoever was in charge of cleanup on these sections that we were doing did a phenomenal job, and we were very fortunate to be able to get through this fucking hike fairly unscathed by any debris and wreckage of the hurricane. So we got rocking and rolling. It was all good. We had a good time, chatting it up. Now, this wasn't a 3-7 mission, but since everyone had pretty much done those, we were kind of abiding by those principles. And as Bean was on the 3-7 Project podcast, it was kind of my thought process that this, and there was even a potential talk of Chad showing up. So it was kind of my impression that we were going to be upholding a certain standard, which I was, mentally prepared for. And that was not necessarily the case. We tried to establish it early, did a pretty good job. Me and Tin Man were in the back of the line pretty much the entire time. My thought process there was, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I wanted to be in an area where I could, as I please, smoke. I tested that boundary pretty early, and being in the back, nobody said shit. Was just on my nicotine tobacco game, and so me and Tin Man were evaluating things from the back, working on things from a different perspective. And my goal going into this was to be able to be a better teammate than I was at the ROP. At the ROP, I was drowning, and I wasn't really able to do much to help the team other than just keep taking one more step and not quitting, which, don't get me wrong, is very valuable. And there was a lot in my behavior that the people there said that I helped them, and it was good for them to see me go through what I went through. And for that, I'm grateful for what I was able to do. But my goal coming into this was to be able to be a better teammate, a better leader, and go in there and have a stronger performance. One like I knew I'd be capable of, that I wanted to give at the original ROP. And to be able to pour into my teammates, to be able to show them some love, some kindness, some compassion, some empathy, and knowing that somebody's probably going to be having a hard time at some point. I was a guy with a lot of experience that would be able to actually help somebody get through that. At least that was my thought process. Excuse me. So we were moving and grooving. At the ROP, we had no set pace requirement. The standard was just eat, hydrate, and move. It didn't matter at what speed you moved, just that you moved. It didn't matter what you were eating, just that you were eating. Kind of that you made a commitment to about roughly 300 calories per hour, kind of a standard on how much water you should be drinking. And that was really just to keep you safe and your joints mobile and moving and able to continue to work through whatever it is you're going through. And, we made sure to work together as a team, shouting those things out, trying to stay in a formation, which was a single file, arm out in front. If you want to be able to touch the person in front of you, if you can't touch them, you're too far out of line. It's great in the evening, in the overnight, in the crazy hours when you're tired and not feeling disciplined, and you like almost essentially Bluetooth together when you stay in formation. And it gets really annoying when somebody is constantly up your ass about doing it, but you make sure that you do it, and you're better off for it because it helps you accomplish the mission and conserve energy and be able to just like work together better. So we did a pretty good job. I said, Darren, let me make fun of him. I heard about his mission, his failure at the ROP mission, and how Chad told him that he had failed. And for anybody who doesn't know Chad, he has a raging Georgia accent. And so that sounded something to the effect of, "Darren, you failed again." And so I said it in my best Chad Wright accent, probably close to 100 times. Every time he did something, even the slightest, it was very micromanagey of me to do it the way that I was doing it. But he was a good spirited human and he loved it. He really didn't seem to care. I absolutely loved that Darren had some theories about the pyramids that are underneath of mountains and how the government just threw dirt over the pyramids. I've been watching a lot of old world stuff. I'm very open-minded to some of this stuff, and that the mountains may contain buildings or may have been these castles or these elaborate buildings. And just after some cataclysmic event, maybe a mud flood, something where, dirt just grew over trees. It doesn't have to be that deep. And there's moments on the rock course when you go through St. John's Woods or whatever the fuck it's called. Uh, there's a section where you're going down these stairs that are absolutely uh, who put these concrete stairs down in the middle of the fucking woods. Like, to me, it seems like they were already there and they've been there for a long, long, long time. And nobody put them there. They were a part of a building put there by somebody else. I mean, somebody put that there, but it's not like somebody brought these concrete slabs through the mountain just to put them there. No way. Not happening. Not buying it. So I listened to Darren's theories. It helped us get through a lot of time, a lot of helping each other over. Some people used walking poles. I was able to try and find ways to get people talking, right? It's super important to be able to rely on your teammates at various different stages throughout this mission in ways that you didn't know you needed to utilize them. So I would start small talk, asking favorite colors, fifth grade teacher, bands, music, anything I could. And I had some real deep conversations that I knew I had a game plan going in. And I knew for me, I needed to be able to rely on my team. And so I started that early. I did my best to not think about time, how long this mission is, and how far it's going to be, and what type of pain I'm going to be in or not be in, and which I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little bit scared. I was absolutely scared, thinking about the pain that I went through at the ROP and going through that again intentionally. I had shoes. I used the Speed Lambs, the Cam Hanes with the baby blue with the elk's blood, the best ones. And I gotta tell you, man, if you saw my pictures from the ROP of my feet, I had an Air Max bubble on every toe. I lost 8 out of 10 toenails. My feet were fucked up, swollen, ankles swollen, everything's calf swollen. These shoes, man, I have maybe a tiny rub spot that maybe I guess you could call a blister, but that's it, man. And the front of my toes on my right foot are a little sore from hitting the front of the toe box. But that was during a section where I didn't quite have it tight enough and I didn't really think about it. I just dealt with the pain. So our original mission plan, also, sorry, before that, make sure I was on top of hydrating, eating. I knew that at some point I'm going to get sick of all the stuff that I'm eating and don't want to eat anymore. And I've been just jamming calories and doing everything I can. And I'm not really going to want to eat. So I made sure to have vitamins so that my body had the proper micronutrients to be able to process food and work efficiently, to help me digest food and get as much out of what I was eating as possible. Made sure that I had protein shakes at the supply drops. So, I had one that I was mixing with a probiotic So again, I could digest my food better and try to avoid my stomach blowing up, which actually worked really well. And I did a protein shake maybe every other resupply. Um, what else? That we were able to pack light because we had a bag at the resupply drop that we could dig in. I kept like my warmer clothes in there during the day while it was hot, and I went shirtless summer 2K24, baby. The protein, like I said, some shaker cups. I had some ignition, one of my favorite supplements to refuel my glycogen supplies to help keep me going. And overall, I felt really good. I felt good. And every time that I thought about how good I was feeling, and I just was so grateful and would pray a little bit and thank God for just being able to move my body efficiently, not be in pain, feel like I was prepared for the mission and the best that I could be given the short notice. Really ready to bang it out and do whatever I could, and whatever I needed to learn from the mission, be open to it, whether it's something that I want or don't want, you know. And it it was not easy. I went out there, had executed on my plan, worked together with my team, talk to everybody, tried to be friendly, be encouraging, consistent, other than reminding people to hydrate, to eat, to nibble. At a certain point, I was just nibbling food. I couldn't really eat a lot at once. I ate probably 6 or 7 peanut butter and jelly and peanut butter and banana sandwiches, respectively. And all these little bars and gummy bears. And, we were really fortunate. The guy Brooks hired a chef. Her name was Lynn. She was absolutely a huge help. We had some real food at some of these stops, and it just made such a difference. I mean, at Rob, you're getting bottom of the barrel garbage. You're getting fucking Bojangles. You're getting CC's Pizza. I can't think of a worse pizza place than CC's Pizza. And it really it was nice. So we're moving and grooving. We spent a good bit of time on a trail that was right parallel to a river, so we were right there by the river. I would have really loved to have taken a dip. Would have probably felt great. Could have made it happen. Was using salty britches to keep myself from chafing, which was A1. I used like this anti-chafe stick, like a little small deodorant looking thing at the ROP, and it did me pretty well. The salty britches, I think, might have been even better. Honestly, I felt like I reapplied less. I had my good socks. I just really was wearing shorts and no shirt in my pack most of the time. Even at night when I tried to bundle up, as soon as we'd start moving, I'd start sweating pretty heavy, and you just don't want to be losing nutrients when you don't have to. So it was cool. I was shirtless until probably about 2 a.m. when I was started actually getting cold. Um, what else? Um, one of the first big resupplies after like a good 10-mile stretch, um, they weren't there yet. We were early. We had been trucking it. We did have our own thought process, and we had a leader who could walk through the woods at a pretty quick pace. So we were trucking along, got there early, ended up having to rest for about 40 minutes. Started getting cold, started like not wanting to move. They showed up, we ate, it was great, had burritos, went into really the first part of the night, feeling good, had some time to rest, which was very necessary for Beans and his son. I mean, for all of us, I don't want to single them out, but it really was beneficial to them. We um, started moving and grooving. I always like to start off eating something big that I knew was going to take some time to digest and be a good source of fuel for the mission we were on, and I brought an extra chicken and cheese and rice burrito with me. We got into it, got after it, started getting into some of the later part of the night. And as we were in this night part, just headlamping, I ate a gas station edible, ended up getting a little high. And, at one point was like kind of geeking out in the woods, but that's like kind of what I do anyway, regularly. So I got over that pretty quickly. Just locked in on formation and trying to focus solely on left foot, right foot, keeping it together, man, keeping my cool, still being helpful. There were times where I was a little bit quiet, but I could feel myself getting grumpy, but it was cool. I almost needed that time to recharge a little bit. I'm not used to being around people in that capacity, and when I'm feeling that way, and like to figure out the best ways to work through it, and try to grow from the situation. But later in the evening, we realized if we kept up the pace we were at, and these long breaks, then we weren't going to hit our goal of 77 miles, and it was going to be 40 hours. And um, so we kept trucking along, doing what we were doing. Really got through it, like really went through the process of, um, kind of grinding it out, having some success in trying to utilize leadership tactics. For a while, Tin Man got pissed off, because he cared. And I could tell, some emotions were getting to him a little bit, but he was holding it together. One point late in the evening, I asked Bean for some scripture, and Tin Man took his Bible right out, held the light up for him. Bean read some scripture, gave some interpretation of it, and really fired us up. He was needing these extra little rests when we would stop for a piss break every fucking 10 minutes. And, it was helping him get through. And see, before we started, Bean gave a prayer. And he talked about the first time that the Bible mentions the word worship. And it mentions it in the Old Testament. And the first place it mentions it is in regards to human sacrifice. That's right, human sacrifice. The story of God asking Abraham to sacrifice his first son, Isaac. And so it's closely linked to human sacrifice. So he compared worship to human sacrifice, and how we were going out there to sacrifice ourselves for a mission and to worship the Lord. And I was into it. It was a great prayer. It got me fired up. I had never heard that. You're probably going to hear it a bunch more times from me. And I love my, adjusting definitions of words, adding in new words and my own definitions, or definitions that I steal from somewhere that I can resonate with, so that in the moment I can quickly recall what I'm feeling, or things I'm thinking, and have a good understanding of myself, and bettering that part of me. And um, damn, the and so just randomly, when Bean was really going through it, he'd kick out some fire, like, guys, we're in this together, guys, we're one unit, one mind, one spirit, shit that like kind of just like reframed our mindsets, whatever. um you know Kicking it through the night. There's some times where it's definitely hard to wrangle each other in, but Tin Man was like, 24/77, you've lost control, blah blah blah. And it got a little serious. We rocked through. There was a point where we had to change the plan because we got there to another checkpoint early, and the next section was a small section. So obviously Tin Man had the right idea. We didn't want to change the original plan of telling them we were going to meet them at every checkpoint, but somebody was in touch with them directly. So Eric talked to them, let them know the plan, and we met them in the next checkpoint. We adapted, we overcame. Um, like I said, it was hard getting these long breaks because while I think it was somewhat beneficial, I do also think it was detrimental in the fact that we weren't like you'd cool down. And so like restarting the next little section was always kind of difficult to get my groove back and get warmed up again. Excuse me. So we went through, um, got through the night, got to the checkpoint in the morning where, had a good little chunk of time waiting for the crew to get there with breakfast and could tell things were people were starting to just like lose focus. The mission was kind of like we were getting all these long breaks and we had traveled, I don't know, 43 miles or so in 21 hours, just about. It was like 6 a.m. We had a little meeting about potentially stopping at 30 hours, getting some good fellowshipping in, an after action report, and going from there. And, Tin Man wanted, was like, hey, the mission's done. People were being unsafe. Let's pack it in, get after action, get some fellowshipping in. Training was good. Let's call it a night. The collective consciousness dictated that we keep going, and that was in big part due to Heath and where he was at, and him and Bean both had kind of this second wind, and you could see it in their face and in their spirit, and they were lit up and charged up. And Heath was just sharing about all these realizations he was coming to, and that he was getting through these hard things with us as a team, and was feeling better about himself in a lot of different ways. And it got me fired up because that was me. And so I was ready. So we moved on. And after that, Tin Man had kind of a bad attitude, and he let his emotions get in the way and went from being a phenomenal teammate to honestly kind of a shit teammate, trying to do everything himself and really doing the opposite. What he was trying to help others with and calling them out on, he was doing himself. And that was kind of hard for me to swallow. That's my guy. And I knew, him and Brooks kind of had a personal thing happening where they were butting heads and letting egos get into play. And it was kind of a bummer for me. But we got to the next stop and they talked for a while, tried to come to a conclusion about calling it there. And Heath wanted to get one more section in. And so Bean and Justin, retired from the event. The other 7 of us, and plus myself, went on for another 4 miles. Heath was jogging at this point for good sections of clean, joggable space. And we were all just ecstatic, man, having a blast. And I knew I could make it 4 more miles. Really felt together as a team, got some great time with the people that I was there with. And, was really able to make the most of it. And wasn't able to stay for the after action report they had today, but I did have some conversations and reflected a lot upon it and wanted to talk to you guys about it because it was something that was hard. It was something that was challenging, and I feel like I learned a lot about myself again because I wasn't really injured. I only used my walking sticks for about an hour, and that was more in the sleepwalk phase when I just wanted to have something to help me stay focused and moving forward. My knee definitely is a little sore, but comparatively speaking to how I was after the ROP, the closest thing I have to this, I was in pretty top tier shape. We'll see how my knee plays out over the next week, but I almost went to jiu-jitsu today. Damn. Um, I didn't because I figured I'll be responsible, get a rest day in. I need to get some sleep, some solid recovery. I've only had like 4 hours since we got up on whatever day. Oh my God, the muscles in my feet and ankles right now. I need some magnesium. But overall, man, to be able to watch Bean and his son, a father and son, worship, go through some human sacrifice, sacrificing their own bodies to come out the other side stronger. and being wasn't there to be a strong example in the physical strength way. He was there to be, his son had to watch him suffer in a humble way, just like Christ suffered, and really, really get through it and get through it as a team and work through it. And he himself worked through these things. And now, as somebody who's going to be a father, thinking about, doing these things, set an example for his son or daughter, and one thing I forgot to mention, Eric took Heath under his wing as his swim buddy and took care of him. And I made sure to point out to Eric, I saw, and I said, man, it looked like you were really serving and protecting Heath out there in the woods. And it made me really give you a different type of respect for your career choice as a state trooper. And that serve and protect shit is not something that you just say, it's something that you live. And you showed that on the trail today. And I really respect that and appreciate that. Gary, we had some great time getting to know each other a little bit more deep, talk about favorite submissions. Now I'm going to have to go to Austin, 10th Planet, learn the Hindulatine from Benetti himself with my buddy Greg. And I can already tell this dude is tough. Gary, Gary relied on his team, man. There was a point where his stomach wasn't feeling right and he was sick of the food he was eating. And he relied on his team and he was able to get it on track, and trusted, that we were giving him good advice and he got through it, man, feeling great, finished strong. He's a fucking stud, dude. And everybody had a great time. I think everybody learned and grew from the adventure. And while the mission changed, ultimately it stayed the same. And we all had some suffering. I'm grateful I was able to be who I knew I could be, and even then there was still room for improvement. And whatever the next hard thing I choose to do, the next mission that I'm going to be a part of, I will continue to grow and continue to try to learn and lead and be the best version of myself that I can be. Highly recommend you do the same. Love you. Bongtimore out.